There are 7 dangerous places you must avoid at all costs, because once you fall into them, they don't just hurt you, they change you. Master Shi Heng Yi warns, what you tolerate silently becomes what controls you. These 7 traps destroy your focus, your energy, your inner peace, and most people don't even know they're stuck. If you want to reclaim your power, your clarity, your life, you need to recognize these places, and get out before they consume you. There is a place within the mind that no warrior wishes to admit exists, the cave of denial. It is a silent trap, dark and hidden beneath the surface of awareness, where truth goes to die and illusion takes root. This is where problems are ignored, emotions buried, and reality is quietly dismissed. You know this place well, when the alarm bells of stress, conflict, or failure sound, but you convince yourself they are false or exaggerated. Perhaps you tell yourself, it's not that bad, or things will just work out on their own. Denial offers a fragile refuge, but it is a dangerous illusion. In the modern world, it looks like pretending to be fine at work while your energy drains, or scrolling endlessly through distractions instead of facing discomfort. The moment you deny your inner truth, you lose connection with your power. Science explains what Shaolin masters have known for centuries. Denial triggers a shutdown in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for clear judgment and emotional regulation. When you refuse to see what is, your brain shuts down pathways needed to solve problems or manage stress effectively. The limbic system, home to emotional responses, runs unchecked. This imbalance fuels anxiety, depression, and reactive behaviors that seem to come out of nowhere. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that discipline begins with seeing clearly. To stand like a rooted warrior means first to confront the ground beneath you without flinching. Denial is the betrayal of this root. Ignoring denial allows unresolved tensions to accumulate silently until they erupt uncontrollably. Relationships strain, work suffers, and internal chaos grows. The energy that should flow through your body becomes stagnant, blocking clarity and slowing your ability to adapt. Your body-mind system becomes a battlefield of unacknowledged fears and resistance. Neuroscience confirms that chronic denial elevates cortisol levels, the stress hormone, which compromises immunity and cognitive function. This is not weakness, it is the natural consequence of refusing to engage with your own reality. How do you avoid falling into this cave? The first step is honest self-observation, a principle deeply embedded in Shaolin mindfulness. Master Shi Heng Yi emphasizes the practice of daily reflection, to sit quietly and ask yourself, what am I avoiding? This is not about judgment, but radical honesty. The second step is to develop the skill of naming your emotions accurately. Modern psychology shows that labeling emotions reduces their intensity and improves emotional regulation. When you say silently, I am feeling overwhelmed, you activate neural circuits that help contain and process the feeling instead of drowning in it. Third, take a moment to ground yourself physically. A simple Shaolin stance or a slow breath can reconnect your mind and body, anchoring you in present reality. Denial might feel like protection, but it is a slow poison to your spirit. The warrior's path is not to hide from what is uncomfortable, but to meet it directly with clarity and strength. What truth have you been silent about today? How long will you remain in the shadows of your own mind before you choose to stand fully in the light? Beyond the darkness of denial lies another peril, burning hot and relentless, the fiery fields of resentment. Unlike denial's cold silence, resentment scorches from within, a smoldering energy that consumes your peace and distorts your vision. It is the toxic fire fed by grudges, bitterness, and unmet expectations, often disguised as righteous anger or justified hurt. You may find yourself replaying offenses in your mind, rehearsing grievances long after the moment has passed. This fire doesn't burn only the source of your pain, it burns you first and most deeply. It appears in the way your thoughts circle endlessly around past injuries, or in the stiffness of your shoulders after a difficult conversation, or the tightening of your chest when recalling an unfair event. This internal furnace hijacks your present, trapping you in a cycle of reactivity. Shaolin philosophy, with its emphasis on emotional mastery, warns us that resentment is a poison without a container. When left unchecked, it spreads through the mind-body system like wildfire, destroying clarity and draining vitality. Neuroscience supports this truth. Chronic resentment activates the amygdala, the brain's threat center, and suppresses the prefrontal cortex's ability to regulate emotions. This imbalance leads to hypervigilance, irritability, and impaired decision-making. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that true strength is calm, not fury. It is a mind like still water, reflecting reality without distortion. The fiery fields represent the opposite, a mind ablaze, unable to see clearly or act wisely. Resentment's consequences are deeper than emotional discomfort. The energy you expend holding on to grudges is energy taken from your capacity to grow, create, and love. The Shaolin warrior trains to convert that energy, to transform the flame of anger into the warmth of compassion and the light of understanding. But without this transformation, resentment becomes a fortress of suffering that isolates you from others and yourself. Psychologically, this state reinforces negative cognitive biases, confirming beliefs that others are enemies and the world is hostile. Socially, it alienates friends, family, and colleagues, creating an invisible barrier that cuts off support and connection. How then do you cross the fiery fields unscathed? The first practice is to cultivate mindfulness of your emotional state, to notice when resentment rises without immediately reacting or suppressing it. Master Shi Heng Yi recommends the Shaolin breathing technique known as iron wire, where slow, controlled breaths help cool the internal fire and re-establish calm. Second, use the Shaolin practice of bowing to the enemy, a metaphor for acknowledging the presence of resentment rather than denying or fighting it. This means naming the grievance internally and allowing yourself to fully feel the pain without judgment. Third, shift your focus toward gratitude or compassion, no matter how small. Neuroscience reveals that gratitude activates reward centers in the brain, shifting neural pathways away from resentment's loop. Practicing gratitude rewires your brain for peace. The fiery fields of resentment offer a cruel lesson. The pain we refuse to release becomes the cage we live inside. The warrior does not feed the fire, instead, they learn to transform it. What old anger still burns in you unseen? How might your life change if you allowed that fire to die down, replaced by quiet strength? There is a landscape darker than fire, deeper than denial, where many wander endlessly, the swamp of guilt and shame. This place is a heavy mire that drags the spirit down with the weight of self-condemnation. Unlike resentment, which blazes outward toward others, guilt and shame turn inward with corrosive force. They whisper that you are not enough, that your mistakes define you, that your true self is unworthy or broken. In the modern world, this swamp often shows itself as constant self-criticism, paralysis in decision-making, or a compulsive need to prove your value. Maybe you recognize it in the exhaustion that follows a failure, or the tightness in your chest when you replay past regrets. The swamp is deceptive because it offers no clear enemy. The threat is within, unseen and unnamed. From a Shaolin perspective, guilt and shame disturb the harmony between mind and body. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that the root of suffering lies in attachment not only to things and outcomes but also to a fixed identity. Guilt and shame bind you to an identity of fault or failure, blocking the natural flow of energy or qi through the body. Neuroscience confirms this effect. Shame activates brain regions linked to pain perception, making emotional wounds feel physical and immediate. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis overreacts, flooding the system with stress hormones that damage the nervous system's resilience. This chronic stress breeds anxiety, depression, and disconnection from self. Ignoring this swamp does not free you, it only sinks you deeper. The energy required to carry guilt and shame is energy stolen from your capacity for healing and growth. The Shaolin warrior understands that strength comes from acceptance and transformation, not denial or self-punishment. The body-mind connection is crucial here. Tension accumulates in the chest and shoulders, restricting breathing and movement, trapping the mind in loops of negative self-judgment. Over time, this stagnation erodes the warrior's foundation of balance and presence. To escape the swamp, start with self-compassion, a practice Master Shi Heng Yi emphasizes as essential for healing. Instead of harsh self-judgment, offer yourself kindness and acknowledge your shared humanity. Psychological research shows that self-compassion reduces the brain's threat response and supports emotional regulation. The second step is embodiment. Shaolin training teaches that movement clears stagnant energy. Simple forms or qigong exercises open the chest and release tension. Third, apply mindful inquiry. Gently question the stories you tell yourself about your guilt and shame. Are they factual or distorted by fear? Can you hold your mistakes without allowing them to define your entire being? The swamp of guilt and shame is a trap disguised as penance. The warrior's path is to rise from the mire, standing tall in acceptance and strength. How long will you allow unseen weights to hold you down? What might you discover when you finally lift your head above the dark waters? Beyond the swamp lies a labyrinth of illusions, the mask hall of persona. This is the place where you hide behind carefully crafted faces, performing roles dictated by expectation, fear, or desire. Each mask is a false identity, a shield against vulnerability and judgment. It promises safety but delivers disconnection. In modern life, it is easy to become lost in this hall, presenting a polished self on social media, agreeing outwardly while disagreeing inside, or suppressing true feelings to maintain appearances. The mask becomes habitual until it feels like the only self you know. Yet beneath it, the authentic you shrinks, starved of expression and connection. Shaolin philosophy confronts this danger with uncompromising clarity. Master Shi Heng Yi reminds us that true strength arises from authenticity, the courage to stand without disguise, rooted in the present moment. The mask hall represents the opposite, a fractured self divided between appearance and reality. Neuroscience explains that maintaining a false self requires constant cognitive effort, engaging the prefrontal cortex to suppress genuine emotions and memories. This creates chronic mental fatigue, anxiety, and a fragmented sense of identity. Socially, masks prevent genuine intimacy and trust, isolating you behind walls of illusion. The consequences of living behind masks are profound. The mind loses coherence, the heart loses warmth, and the spirit loses freedom. The energy wasted on maintaining appearances could be redirected to creativity, connection, and growth. Shaolin training focuses on developing a unified mind-body connection, where actions and intentions align. This unity is impossible while wearing masks. The warrior's posture, breath, and gaze must reflect inner truth, not illusion. To dismantle the mask hall, start with presence. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that mindfulness, observing your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations without judgment, reveals the masks you wear unconsciously. Second, practice radical honesty in safe environments, allowing yourself to express genuine thoughts and emotions even when uncomfortable. This rebuilds the neural pathways for authentic connection. Third, cultivate self-acceptance, recognizing that your true self is worthy beyond any mask. Shaolin meditation trains the mind to release attachment to identity stories, fostering a state of no-self, where freedom and peace arise naturally. The mask hall offers temporary shelter but exacts a hidden toll. The warrior's path is one of fearless authenticity, standing unmasked in the light of self-knowledge. Which masks are you willing to lay down today? How might your life shift if your actions reflected your true self without compromise? The mind, when unchecked, can trap you in a twisting maze, the labyrinth of overthinking. This place is not physical but mental, a complex network of endless loops where thoughts spiral without resolution. Overthinking is the overuse of your mind's power in a way that paralyzes action, breeds anxiety, and blurs clarity. You might recognize it in moments when a simple choice becomes a source of torment, when what-ifs multiply like shadows, or when mental chatter drowns out intuition. In the modern world, overwhelmed by information and constant stimulation, overthinking is a common yet invisible prison. Shaolin wisdom teaches that the mind is like water, it must flow freely, not churn in turbulence. Master Shi Heng Yi emphasizes that control of the mind is the root of Shaolin discipline. Without it, chaos reigns internally. Neuroscience explains that overthinking overactivates the default mode network, the brain's resting state system involved in self-referential thoughts, which can amplify negative emotions and reduce present moment awareness. This hyperactivity decreases efficiency in the prefrontal cortex, impairing decision-making and emotional regulation. Overthinking often leads to decision fatigue and increased cortisol levels, undermining both mental and physical health. The consequences of falling into this labyrinth are subtle but destructive. Paralysis by analysis delays action, saps confidence, and increases stress. Energy is wasted on hypothetical scenarios rather than grounded reality. Shaolin training counters this with practices that cultivate focused attention and calm presence, moving from thinking to being. The warrior learns to pause, breathe, and observe thoughts as passing clouds, not permanent truths. To escape the labyrinth, begin by training your attention through meditation or breath work, techniques that Master Shi Heng Yi regularly integrates into Shaolin practice. These tools quiet the mind's chatter and enhance awareness of the present moment. Next, develop a practice of decisive action, choose a path with intention, then commit without second-guessing. Neuroscience shows that action feeds back to the brain, reducing uncertainty and strengthening neural circuits for confidence. Lastly, practice cognitive reframing, challenge obsessive thoughts by questioning their validity and replacing them with balanced perspectives. This mental flexibility supports emotional resilience. The labyrinth of overthinking traps the warrior in illusions of control and certainty. True mastery is the ability to move with clarity, adapting to life's flow without resistance. What tangled thoughts keep you stuck? How might stepping into decisive presence change your path forward? Isolation is a landscape of cold, silent heights where many climb alone, believing solitude is safety or strength. Yet, the cold mountain of isolation is a dangerous place where disconnection from others and from yourself breeds loneliness and numbness. In modern life, it appears as withdrawing from relationships after pain, avoiding vulnerability, or building walls against perceived threats. The mountain's chill dulls emotion and clouds clarity, leaving you distant from the warmth of connection and support. It can feel like a refuge at first, but over time, it hardens into a prison of emotional frost. Shaolin philosophy recognizes that human beings are inherently relational creatures. The warrior's path is not solitary but interconnected. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that balance arises from harmony between internal strength and external connection. Neuroscience supports this. Social isolation activates the brain's pain centers similarly to physical injury, increasing cortisol and weakening immune function. Prolonged isolation affects neuroplasticity, impairing emotional regulation and increasing vulnerability to depression and anxiety. The cold mountain is a deceptive refuge that strips the energy needed for resilience and growth. Living in isolation diminishes the body's vitality and the mind's flexibility. Shaolin training emphasizes community and shared discipline as sources of strength. Training alongside others cultivates mutual support, accountability, and inspiration. The body-mind energy connection depends on social rhythms and empathetic exchange. Without connection, chi stagnates, posture collapses, and the spirit dims. The warrior stands not just for self but as part of the whole. To descend the cold mountain, start by acknowledging your need for connection without shame. Master Shi Heng Yi encourages practicing open-heartedness, a readiness to receive and give support. Begin with small, consistent steps, reach out to trusted individuals, engage in group practices, or participate in community service. Neuroscience reveals that social interaction releases oxytocin, reducing stress and promoting healing. Secondly, cultivate self-compassion to tolerate vulnerability without retreating into isolation. Third, incorporate Shaolin movement or meditation with others. Shared practice renews energy and restores belonging. The cold mountain offers quiet, but it steals the warmth that fuels the warrior's flame. How long will you endure the chill of separation? What strength might you reclaim by stepping down into the warmth of connection? The haunted lands of the past are fields overgrown with shadows that linger long after events have passed. This dangerous place is where memories of pain, regret, and loss replay endlessly, distorting the present with echoes of what once was. In modern life, these haunted lands appear as compulsive rumination, emotional triggers, or the inability to forgive yourself or others. They are the unseen chains that bind the mind to old wounds, preventing the warrior from stepping fully into the now. The past becomes a ghost that haunts every thought, every feeling, until it shapes your identity and your destiny. Shaolin philosophy teaches that attachment to the past is a root of suffering. As Master Shi Heng Yi often reminds his students, the warrior must cultivate a mind that is like clear water, reflecting without distortion. Neuroscience reveals that traumatic memories activate the amygdala, the brain's fear center, and impair the prefrontal cortex's ability to regulate emotion and cognition. This imbalance traps you in a loop of emotional reactivity, reinforcing pain rather than healing it. The haunted lands foster a restless spirit, one that cannot find peace until it releases the grip of history. The energy trapped in past suffering stagnates in the body, often felt as tightness in the chest or a heaviness in the gut. Shaolin practice calls for mindful embodiment. Bringing awareness to physical sensations helps to ground the mind and create distance from mental turmoil. The warrior learns that liberation comes not from forgetting the past but from transforming its power through acceptance and presence. To navigate these haunted lands, begin with acknowledgement. Face your past without avoidance or denial. Master Shi Heng Yi guides that this requires courage and patience, allowing pain to arise without resistance. Second, practice forgiveness, not as a concession to others, but as a gift to your own freedom. Neuroscience shows that forgiveness reduces stress and rewires neural pathways toward compassion and resilience. Third, anchor yourself in the present moment through Shaolin meditation and breath control. These practices cultivate a calm, spacious mind that no longer feeds the ghosts of history. The haunted lands hold many captive, but the warrior's path is to walk through them with steady breath and open heart, transforming old pain into wisdom and strength. What ghosts do you carry that still shape your story? How might your future change if you release their hold and stand free in the present? The 7 dangerous places are not distant lands to be feared but familiar states to be recognized and transcended. In Master Shi Heng Yi's teaching, true mastery lies in seeing clearly, standing firmly, and moving with intention. Each place, whether denial, resentment, guilt, persona, overthinking, isolation, or the past, offers a lesson in balance and self-mastery. Like the rooted Shaolin warrior, your power comes not from escaping hardship but from meeting it with calm strength and wisdom. The question remains, will you stand as a warrior who knows these dangers and chooses to walk beyond them? What will your next step be in the journey of mastering your mind, your energy, and your life?